So a few days ago, I said I'd make this video, and here I am today, finally making it. And this is going to be quite interesting because I don't really have any practical experience with the OCG, only a bit of theory, so I might make mistakes, but either way, it's probably going to be quite accurate because I studied it quite a lot. Anyways, before this video starts, my man, you already know the drill. Friendly reminder to smash both the like and the subscribe button. I would really appreciate that, and now let's get right into it. Alright, so in the number 10 position, I have a deck that just got a little bit of a nerf from the ban list, but is still really good, and that would be Bestial Dragon Maid. So the nerf was actually two things, Magnamut going from 3 to 1, and also Fenrir going from 3 to 1. And the deck is still good though, because it can play a lot of hand traps, it's still a 1-card combo, it does actually have the ability to do some nice things on turn 1, and can actually make some Omni Negates, and can also do some really crazy things as, you know, its follow-up, because you're searching so many cards on the end phase, like Magnamut and stuff like that. The Lubellion can search the Magnamut anyways. In the number 9 position, I have the exact opposite, so a deck that actually got better with the ban list, and that would be Plunder Patrol. You essentially get to play with 3 Water Enchantress now and 2 Rite of Aramesia, which is definitely much better than what we had before. And even though Wandering Griffin Rider is still banned, Illegal Knight is still a great option, and the deck just has inherent nice synergy with the Brave token itself, being able to use it as a Synchro Summon or a Link Summon material. Number 8 goes to yet another deck that actually got a little bit of a boost from the ban list, and that would be Sky Striker. So Sky Striker now has 2 Engage, which it already had, but also 2 Kagari, so it went from 1 to 2, which is definitely really nice. I want to say puts it on par with the TCG, but it's still a better deck in the OCG than it is in the TCG because they have Max C, and Sky Striker can use Max C very well and also not lose to Max C. Number 7 is a deck with a pretty good reputation because, you know, everybody likes it or nobody really hates it too much. It's not a really unfair degenerate deck even when it was at like full power in a way, and that would be Tenyi Sword Soul. The deck does have flaws. It loses to Max C. It doesn't really have, I think, Protoss anymore, or it might have, I forgot in the OCG, but I know for a fact that in the TCG it doesn't have Protoss at all. It's still a good deck. Obviously, can play a bunch of hand traps, but you're not going to be insta-winning every game where you win the dice roll. So in other words, you have to use your brain when you play Tenyi Sword Soul. I know, what a bummer. Number 6 is a deck that I don't really like too much, but I absolutely understand why people like it, and also in the OCG people are obsessed with it, and that would be Tri Brigade. Especially Tri Brigade Sprite because it doesn't really care about Toad being banned, and Jet and Starter to 1 also isn't really the end of the world for them because they're only really playing the Splite cards as an engine, not really as a way to get your stuff going, but hey, if you draw that 1-up starter, then all the better for you, right? Good deck, can put up a bunch of negates, can also do some nice things going second, so I don't know what else to say. It's a good deck and it deserves to be in the top 10. Okay, so from here on out, things will start getting very interesting. In my number 5 position, I have a deck that is a trap deck, but for once, it's actually not Eldritch, and I'm gonna have to give it to Labyrinth. It's a very malleable deck that can actually adapt itself to pretty much anything. It just has a lot of really nasty trap cards, and the ability to like recycle back resources in a way from like the graveyard and everything. You can go to like Chainlink 5, and the exact same cards on the field can actually just snowball advantage at the speed of light, whereas in Eldritch, you kind of run out of gas eventually because you have to banish your cards, and once the cards are banished, you can no longer do anything with them, whereas with Labyrinth, that's not really the case. Basically, when you're playing Labyrinth, if you can survive turn 1 and turn 2, you're pretty much winning the game because it is basically impossible to keep up with. Unfortunately, it's still a trap deck, and it still suffers from the exact same issues as every other trap deck does, so that's why it's a little harder for me to put it higher on the list. Number 4 is a deck that only exists in the OCG right now, and a lot of people don't really know how it works, and a lot of people literally don't even know that it exists, but that would be Gishki Sprite. Basically, the goal is to play with your Gishki cards first, obviously, because a bunch of them are not level 2, so you can't really use your Sprite starter ASAP or your Gigantic. And then your opponent will lose a lot of cards from the hand, either from wasting their hand traps or you going like Evil Gishki Goose Kraken or something, or you summoning the big boy that negates monster effects so that you can ensure that your Sprite combo goes off. And you can make like 4 or 5 negates while making your opponent lose a bunch of cards with Goose Kraken, so definitely something to be afraid of. And going second, it absolutely can break boards. There's a ritual spell that allows you to like tribute your opponent's monsters, and also Zeal Gigas is also pretty nasty at breaking boards, so definitely a very scary deck for going first and second. Speaking of scary, this is where we enter super violent territory. Number 3 is an extremely overpowered deck that pretty much dodged every single ban list, and I want to say even in the TCG, that deck is extremely scary. That deck is Naturia, and there are a bunch of ways to play it. You can play with the Vernalizer cards, the Shizu cards, or even the Runic cards, but if you want to abuse it to its full potential, I really recommend the Runic engine because it's still at full power. Nothing else was hit in the engine. I mean, I want to say the Shizu cards are somewhat hit to a certain extent because Kaldo and Agido are at 1, and the Herald of Orange Light is at 1 as well, but for the Runic cards, everything is at 3, so you really don't have to care about that. You can get a bunch of draws with a fountain, you can special summon a bunch of monsters for free because every Runic card is basically an instant fusion, so, you know, free material for Synchros and Xyz summons. And if you summon Naturia Beast against any other deck that I will be mentioning in number 2 and number 1, then you win the game. And speaking of the devil, number 2 is a deck that cries against Naturia Beast every single time. Can you take a guess? I will give you a hint. Best deck, let's go! And when I say Pendulum, I mean Draco Slayer. That deck is super nasty, and again, even in the TCG. It basically dodged the ban list outside of like Fenrir going to 1, but I want to say almost everything that could have beaten it kind of just got destroyed. So in other words, the deck is kind of just a little too good now. So like going first, you make some big boards, going second, you break some big boards, and since you Pendulum summon like 5 monsters in one shot, then your opponent only draws 1 with Maxi, and you really don't lose to that card anymore. And you still do, but if you're going second, then you're just killing your opponent, so that's a nice Maxi you got there. Like deadass, this is one of the very few times where I can unironically say that Pendulum might be the best deck of the format. Anyways, the true best deck goes to an extremely ignorant and annoying Yu-Gi-Oh deck that doesn't really win with conventional ways, and that would unfortunately have to be a Runic Floodgate deck out. It's complete bullshit, it's very ignorant, like I said, it doesn't even play any monsters, and the only goal is to stop you from having fun and to make you lose every single card in your deck. It draws a bunch of cards, its recyclability, if that's even a word, is pretty insane, and have I actually mentioned that it's annoying? Oh, and by the way, it doesn't lose to Maxi at all because it kind of doesn't really special summon because it kind of plays 0 monsters, so that's a nice Maxi you got there. And even without Mystic Mind, the deck is still extremely annoying, so don't go thinking that you're gonna have a good time against it now. You're not. It's not fun. Nonetheless, you can still defeat it by turboing out Spell Canceller or Naturia Beast, which is a pretty good reason why Naturia is a very nasty deck right now, so if you can play that deck, try to turbo out Naturia Beast as early as you possibly can. Anyways, that's pretty much all I had to say for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Peace.